Hello there, everyone. Toy Game Collector here, bringing you a piece of my collection. Now, look at all these video games. Games for the GameCube, the PlayStation 3, the DS, PS4 back there, and the 3DS. Now, you might be wondering, what do all these games on this shelf have in common? All these games are bad games. And if they're not bad, they're just mediocre or average games. That's the topic of today's video. I'm going to be going over games that are mediocre or bad or just average that I have known. So let's get started. Let's start with this game. Transformers Animated the Game, based on the TV show of the same name, which premiered on Cartoon Network in 2008. This game, for a Transformers game, it's pretty boring. You know, you just solve puzzles and maybe drive around in a couple stages, but that's it. Yeah, it's not too hard, it's not too easy. Excuse me. Yeah, this game, it's just average. Nothing too special about it. I got this game for like $7, so I don't really care. This game's like really cheap, but it's not the best game I've ever played. Next, Star Wars Battlefront Elite Squadron. This game is not horrible, but it's average, you know? It's played from a top-down perspective, if you can see that. Yeah, the controls aren't that great. The Starfighter levels I really like, but there's not that many of them. And by the way, there's no way you get to replay the levels. If you want to replay the levels, you have to start the game all over again, which sucks. Yeah, that sucks. But I can't do anything about that. It's an okay game, though. It's not a game I see myself playing every now and then. That's aside. Next we have Cars, the video game, and Bolt. Both Disney games. These are my little brother's games, but he let me have them years back. Yeah, Cars, you know, we grew up playing the original Cars game on the PS2, and that game was fun. Yeah, we both had hours of fun playing that. When my little brother learned it was on the DS, we had to get it. Big mistake. It's just a bunch of mini games, and they're not that fun of mini games. Yeah. It's not the worst game ever, but it's just generic. It's not that fun. And Bolt, you know, it's okay. It's an action platform type game, 3D platformer. Yeah, you know, he plays Bolt the dog. You know, this takes place in the fictional world of his where he thinks he's a dog with superpowers. Yeah, and you know, as great as an idea as that is, the combat isn't that great. Now, I believe I got stuck on one part. That's why I've never gotten that far in this game. There's a part that I got stuck on. But, whatever. Yeah, Bolt was a good movie. I just realized that. Scooter not in game. Never realized that before. Bolt was a great movie, but, the game, it's, best I've forgotten. Next, Sonic Lost World. This is a port of the Wii U version of the game. And this game, it's not too hard at first, but at later parts, it just gets really frustrating with the controls. Don't even get me started with the gyro controls to get the Chaos Emeralds. Yeah. Like, it's not a horrible game. Like, there are worse Sonic games than this, but, you know, this game was somewhat frustrating. It's not a game I see myself ever going back to. Next, WreckIt Ralph on Nintendo 3DS. WreckIt Ralph is one of my favorite Disney movies. It's a movie about video games. So if it gets a video game, that means it's gotta be good, right? Well, no, it's not. I really wanted to like this game. Like, the time it took me to beat this game from start to finish was 3 hours in one sitting. Yeah, you can only play as Ralph and Felix. You can't play as Calhoun. You can't play as Vanellope, which is too bad, because I would have loved to play as them. Yep. This game takes place after the first movie. Yeah, it plays Ralph and Felix, stop some cyborgs from destroying the arcade. You know? It's just generic. Like, it's basically a platformer game, kind of like Mario or whatever. Though you don't hop on the enemies to kill them, you know? You can punch them or throw hammers. Yeah, you need to switch back and forth between Ralph and Felix. It's okay at best, but this game is not that great. I've only ever played it once. Yeah, just to beat it and never played it again. So yeah. Moving on. You know, they used the cutscenes from this game for a WreckIt Ralph 2 commercial, believe it or not. It's probably the worst WreckIt Ralph 2 commercial I have ever seen. It's when the guy in the commercial didn't sound like Ralph. And really, they just use cutscenes from this game. No one wants to remember this game. Batman Arkham Origins on the PS3. No, it's not a horrible game. It's just generic. Like, I think this game's too big. The world is too big. Like, it's a chore just getting around. It's not the hardest game ever. It's not the worst game ever. If there's anything I hated about this, it was the fight with Deathstroke. Because that took forever for me to do, at least. But, yeah, Arkham Origins. I love the Arkham series of games. Out of all of them, I think this is the one I played the least amount of times. Because it just didn't interest me that much. To that, I really tried to like this game. Here's one of the worst games in my collection. Sonic the Hedgehog, or as it's known as, Sonic 06. This game is beyond broken. It's glitchy, the camera is bad. Yeah, the story is just too far out there. Poor Sonic kissed a human princess in this game. They're getting started on these redesigns. Like, there's Dr. Eggman. There's the princess back there. She has the whitest skin I have ever seen on anybody. Yeah. I mean, this game was made to celebrate his 15th anniversary back in 2006. Yeah, that was not a very good anniversary for Sonic. Like, this is the best they could do. This game's horrible. I've only ever played it once. The only reason I own this is because I got it for very cheap. I told myself, if I ever see this for cheap, I'll get it, but for no other reason. Next, Rambo, the video game. This game is not the worst game I've ever played, but it's not that great. I can't beat it. I'm stuck on one level in the third movie near the end. But it basically plays like an arcade shooter, but this game doesn't have like there's no light gun support or anything. If you have a PlayStation Move controller and an eye, you can use that to point at the screen, have it play like a gun game. But if you don't, you have to use the controller, and it's not the most precise thing in the world. The arcade shooters like that just need a light gun accessory or something. Plus, the graphics on this are pretty bad, considering the year this came out, which I think was 2011. Yeah. Well, maybe it was 2014. I'm not exactly sure, but the graphics on this are pretty bad. Most of the characters don't look like what they should look like. Like, it's an interesting concept. I had fun with it when I did, but then there comes parts where it's just beyond frustrating. Here's a game I beat last night. Wolfenstein 2009. This game is sort of a forgotten game in the series. It's also a rare game, but not rare as in it's worth a lot of money. I paid $10 for this. Yeah, this came out in 2009. Plays BJ Blazkowicz, who's that guy right there. Yeah, he doesn't look like what he should look like. Yeah, you basically have to stop the Nazis in this German city. You fight like these monsters and stuff. Like the enemies, you fight the same amount of enemies throughout the entire game. It's a chore moving around the game. Now, this game started out as an open world game, but when they took that part out, they left some parts of it in, so you still have to walk around the map to get to where you need to go. It's a big chore. It's not that fun. I only had trouble with like 2 bosses, like the last boss and this one bug-like creature thing. It's not the worst game ever, it's just forgettable. It's very forgettable. Yeah. This game is not canon to the story anymore, despite the fact that the newer games by Machine Games reference this game. This game's sort of canon to the story, but it's not. Next. Universal Studios Theme Park Adventure on GameCube. This was released in 2001. December of 2001. This game has an interesting concept. You walk around Universal Studios, get to go on the attractions, play mini games based on them. How can you go wrong with that? Well, you can go wrong with that. Is when it has a fixed camera, which means the camera stays in one spot. It doesn't follow your character, so your character could be way off into the distance, and the camera's not going to follow it until you go into another screen. Yeah. And plus, it's very easy to get lost in this game. The mini-games, they're not that great. I think Back to the Future is probably one of the better mini-games in the game. That's not saying much. There's Jaws, and that was a frustrating game. There's Waterworld, based on the stunt show. Notice this game is not a true representation of Universal Studios theme parks. Yeah, this game, supposedly the park in this game is based off the one in Japan for some reason. Yeah. One frustrating thing was there's this trivia game in it that you have to do at one point. The trivia game's not a bad trivia game, but it's pretty hard. Like, you have to watch a lot of Universal movies to understand the trivia game. Like, there was questions for Jurassic Park, Back to the Future, The Mummy, Backdraft, which I've never seen, Waterworld. Some questions I remember, like, who played the Mummy in The Mummy? And, what did the little girl's tattoo in Waterworld represent? Stuff like that. Yeah. Some of the questions just got pretty hard. So it's not a perfect game. Like, it's not the worst game ever played, but it's not perfect. Too bad, because it had an interesting idea. Sonic Unleashed. Not a terrible game, but it did get frustrating. Like, I have not beaten this game. Yeah, the one part that frustrates me is the parts where Sonic turns into a werehog. Those stages are difficult and repetitive. And you have to collect these sun and moon medals to go further into the game. That's very annoying. It's just really annoying. And that's why I haven't beaten this game, because I need like 20 more to get to this next area. Don't know how to get any more. I'll play those werehog levels. Next we have EA's Star Wars Battlefront from 2015. Now this is a game I really wanted to enjoy before it came out. I didn't have a PS4 in 2015, but I remember following this game. Until I learned there was no single-player story to the game. Because EA said, people don't play single-player stories in video games anymore. They only want multiplayer. Well, games can be multiplayer only if they're good. This game came out with little content. It has a $50 season pass in it. So if you want all this cool stuff, you gotta pay $50. $50 more. This game was like $60 when it came out. I got this for like $5 off eBay. There is single-player stuff you can do in this, but it's not perfect. Like, it gets pretty boring pretty quick. Yeah. It's not a great game. Most people say the second game in the series is the worst because of the controversy that had, but I like the second game in this series. I like that. I'm not afraid to admit that. Last but not least, we have a launch title for the PS4. Killzone Shadowfall. This game's not horrible, per se, but it's just generic. The story was all over the place. It's just okay. It did get hard at some points. Yeah. So I really want to like this series. but I just can't. I really, really tried to like the Killzone series, but I just can't. Believe me, I tried. Oh well. And that's every bad, generic, average, or mediocre game I have in my collection. So yeah, whether you want to play any of these games, that's up to you. I'm not stopping you. But those are just my personal opinions on these games. Well, that about wraps up this video. Thank you for watching. Please leave a like, dislike, comment, subscribe, do whatever. And I'll see you next time. Bye-bye now.